Good afternoon YouTube, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. I'm Green Monkey, and today we will be starting a career mode using the Mission Controller 0.9 mod, as well as using the NT Space Program mission package. The first mission is simply to create a basic rocket and just to leave the atmosphere and return this rocket safely to the planet Kerbal. I will also be using this as a basic tutorial just to show you the simple ideas behind building your first rocket in Kerbal Space Program. We will not be doing any orbiting this episode. All we will be doing is producing a simple rocket, leaving the atmosphere and returning it safely to the planet. So let's get started. We shall go to the vehicle assembly building. Do we save our settings? And for the first mission we have a budget of 50,000. Just need a rocket to get to 75 kilometers, and then we need to return it to Kerbal. So we will build a small probe which we intend to get to that height, and we will start with let's start with this pod, and we'll keep this very simple. Now this will be our second stage. So first and most importantly, we are going to need a parachute. Found in utilities, we will use, yes, the Mark 16 parachutes should do the job. Now on this probe we will also might as well attach solar panel, because there is no Kerbal to operate the probe. So we will attach a solar panel to either side using the symmetry tools. And below this, while we're launching, we will have an advanced SAS module, so that the launch can be kept straight, headed towards the sky. And this will also be attached to the parachute so that we can, when we return it using the Mission Controller mod, this will be recycled back into the budget. And the advanced SAS module is 1100, so majority of that will be returned, so I won't need to worry too much about the cost of this part. The second part of the rocket is going to be the fuel tanks and of course the engine itself. But first we will need a decoupler. That one's too big. So the TR18A stack decoupler, and below this we are going to want a tank. Now we don't need a lot of fuel to get to this orbit, so that might do the trick. We might take the safe option and grab a touch more fuel. Let's see here, that one should do the job. And we have two liquid fuel engines which should be suitable for this mission. We have the LVT-45 and the LVT-30. The difference being that the T-45 has a slightly lower max power, but it has thrust vectoring, which the advanced SAS will use to keep the rocket pointing in the upwards direction on launch. Now the next thing we will also need is a launch stability enhancer. We will only need one of these to attach to the side of the rocket, and that will release on launch. This is about as simple as a rocket can get. Fuel, engine, and the probe itself. The probe, along with the 2 solar panels and the advanced SAS module, will all plan to return to the Kerbal surface via the parachute, so they will land safely, I would hope, but we will see how this mission turns out. Next we have staging. So we need to make sure that the main rocket is fired first, followed by the release of our launch stability enhancer, and this will take us up to the 75 kilometer mark. Once we are certain that we will reach that 75 kilometer mark, we will activate the decoupler designated in the stage 1, and once we have returned through the atmosphere, we will open up the parachutes and safely land on the surface. So let's go to the launch pad and get this mission underway. And here we are on the launch pad. Now, when launching your ship, the first thing you want to do is make sure that the SAS is turned on, and that will keep the ship pointing in the direction that it is currently pointing, which is towards the sky. Nav ball at the bottom. We do not need to worry about gravity turns or anything, since all we need to do is get to 75 kilometers above the surface. I may adjust it depending on where our attitude is when we're in space, so that we land back on solid ground. As with the mission controller mod, when you recycle your ship, you recover less money if you recycle it in the water. So we shall get the throttle up 100%. I imagine I will reduce that soon after takeoff to maintain a speed of roughly 150 meters per second, and that will rise as the atmosphere thins. So, launching in 3, 2, 1. Rockets engaged. Launch separated. Approaching 100 meters per second. 120. 40. We'll reduce the throttle down to about 3/4 there. And that will slowly increase our speed as the atmosphere thins. Now all we need to do is wait until we get to that 75 kilometer mark. We're currently at 4 kilometers. Hopefully I will produce a series of videos to follow through with the missions involved in this mod, and these initially involve getting a ship into orbit, which will be next, getting a simple probe to orbit, as well as setting up satellites around Kerbal, around the moon, eventually landing a Kerbal on the moon before finally going to other planets with the ultimate goal of landing a Kerbal on the planet Duna. Now open up our map screen. We have an apoapsis of 41 kilometers. We want to see that over 75 kilometers. So we've got 50, 60, 75, 80. Pressing X to cut the throttle. And that is slowly dropping because we are still in some atmosphere, but that should stay above the 80 kilometer mark there. turn slightly towards the 270 mark. Actually, I'll turn completely towards the 270 mark to make sure that I will be landing on land. And that will turn around, and that will do the job. Now the planet will rotate beneath us, so we won't land back at the space center. We'll most likely land just to the west of it, and hopefully to the east of the mountains, but that won't make too much of a difference for this mission. So now we can press spacebar to separate our engine and the fuel tanks, as we no longer need them anymore. Stage separated. And I will orient the ship for re-entry. Advanced SAS module is still attached, so that will hold there. And our orbital speed is dropping. We are reaching the peak of our orbit, and our goal of 75 kilometers has been reached. So we'll hide that. Now all we need to do is land this probe back on the surface. So I'll use the period key to time warp up until we are back in the atmosphere, which we are now. And after we have done our re-entry, I will deploy the chutes. And you can see that, as I've predicted, I am landing to the west of the Kerbal Space Center and just to the east of these mountains. And there's our debris, our rockets and tanks. And here's our slight re-entry effects. "10 kilometers, 8 kilometers, deploying chutes." Now the first major goal is right in view, the moon. One day we will get a Kerbal to land on the moon. But for now, we need to discover the basics of the space program and the orbital mechanics that we will need to get to the moon. I'll warp ahead a little bit further until we're closer to the ground. Roughly at 500 meters, the chutes will fully deploy. 1,000 meters, as it's done there, which should be about 500 meters above the surface. Time warping to 4 times speed. And down we go. Slow that down. And the first mission of the Mission Controller mod has been completed successfully. All goals have been completed, and we will have made all the money. So we can hide that finished goal, we can finish the mission, and what is left of this spaceship is recoverable for 600 credits. I would have thought it would have been slightly more than that, but that's okay. We have ended the flight. and we will return to the Space Center. Okay, so now we have 37,000 credits in our budget. Seems a little bit lower than I expected. Maybe I spent more on that rocket than I thought I did. But that's okay. In the next episode, we'll be looking at Mission Beta. This will be a mission to get a small probe into a stable orbit of 80 kilometers around the planet Kerbal. Until next time, I'm Green Monkey. See you later.